Hi everybody, welcome to this webinar about dedicated to Odoo Studio. I'm sitting today with Patrick.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Patrick.
Good afternoon, how are you?
I'm doing well. What about you?
I'm doing great and I'm happy to be here hosting this session.
Okay, excited about presenting Odoo Studio. It's a great new feature added recently to Odoo, and this session will be will last more or less 45 minutes.
Yeah, sure.
30
minutes of presentation, 15 minutes of Q&A, question and answers.
So as you watch this webinar, feel free to ask your questions through the chatter, and we'll take those questions at the end of the presentation with a live Q&A session. Are you ready, Patrick?
Yeah,
to demonstrate Odoo Studio?
Sure.
Okay, let's get it started.
Thanks, Fred. My name is Patrick, and I'm working as a business advisor at Odoo in Brussels. Today's webinar will be about Odoo Studio. We'll have the chance to see what is Odoo Studio. It is basically a customization tool that I'll be presenting you with today. Now, just to give you an outline of today's webinar, we are going through an introduction of what Odoo Studio is. Then we'll see all the possibilities that you can do with this awesome tool. And then I will present you with a business case, which will basically be about a training management application that we will develop together live with you. After that, we'll have the chance to see a few other extras that I think will be helpful for some of you. And then we'll finish with some questions. We'll be taking your questions into the chat, so feel free to ask any question that you want. And I will pick the most important ones to discuss them with you, right? So I'll be sharing my screen with you. By this time, you should be able to see an online account on odoo.com in which we have a few applications. So here is what we call the app switcher, which is the welcome page. Every small box here is an Odoo application. You have the discuss application for everything for mailing, notifications. You have the contact applications, calendar, CRM, app switcher. From here, you can go and install new Odoo applications that already exist out of the box, and you can go to the settings. Today, we are going to modify existing applications, but also create new applications. In order to do that, we need to install a tool that we call Odoo Studio. There are two ways to do it. I can simply go to the App Store here and search for Studio. And I can install it from here, or I can as well click on the icon here, click on install, confirm that I want to install it, and then Odoo will install all of the features to allow me to change the behavior of my Odoo account. So it will take a few seconds. There we go. Right. From now on, I have the Odoo Studio installed, and I'll be showing you what we can do with. Just for an overview first, if I am on the home page, the welcome page, that we also call the app switcher, I can activate the studio mode, and I'll be able to see customizations that I can do. The first simple thing can be to simply contextualize your account. I will change the background by simply clicking on change background. I will search for a wallpaper. Let's take, for example, this one. And in a few seconds, I have another background. What we can also do is to go to an application, for example, the CRM. And from here, we can modify existing objects, existing documents. So if you want to modify an existing application, first you can change the views. The views are simply the way that you want to display information to your user. So we have many types of views. You have a form view in which you can fill in an entire business document. I'll show you otherwise. For example, here, this is a form view. I can edit, put the name of the customer, the email, and the phone. We have the list view, which is a tabular view from which you can see many data at once. You have the Kanban view, which presents you with a small card with summary information. And then we have the calendar so that you can simply plan an activity. In this case, it is a CRM opportunity. You have the pivot table, which is for business intelligence. You can do some analysis, say by country, and then you can export it in Excel. And to finish with, we have a graph view. So there are many other views. We won't have time to go through all of them, but the idea is with Odoo Studio, you'll be able to modify existing views or to create your new ones for the objects you want to manage. Okay? So just make sure I have the internet connection. Good. So back to my Odoo Studio modes, I will go to the CRM application. We can first see that we are presented with a Kanban view of an opportunity. If I click on it, or I go to the views here, I see we already have a form view, search view, and Kanban view. I want to be able to see the information I have on a business document. So I will quickly open a form view. I have some fields of different types. We'll come into the details. But you can see that a business document has the content of the document, a space below, which we call the chatter, that will help you for communication and history. And it has a header to see, for example, the stage. Okay? Now, in the existing applications, you can modify the menu. For example, in the CRM application, we have the pipeline, reporting, and you have a menu here, which is the sales channel. If I want to modify it and to put it into the top here, I can simply click on Edit, and I say, let's put the channel on the same level as the customer, the pipeline, the reporting, and I simply click on Confirm. This is the first change that we can do really easily, but we can as well add new menus to our application. Next to the menu, what we can do is also change the views. Actually, I will go to a contacts form. I will take just one of the existing contacts. I will change the form view. Let's say we want to be able to manage a training session, and we want to see which contact is a student, which contact is an instructor. We can come here and we'll be able to add a few fields. For example, by adding one tab here, I'll say this tab will be about training management. And in this tab, I'll be able to add a few fields. For example, I simply want some checkboxes to say if I am an instructor or if I am a student. So these will be quite some simple changes, but we'll go into advanced ones a bit later. So here, by adding a few fields, I can rename them so that it's really meaningful for me. And at this side, I will say it is, I am an instructor, right? So with the views, I can add a few fields, I can modify some tabs, and I will be able to also change or apply some automations, change some existing reports, change access rights to this object, and also apply some filters. We'll come to the filters and explain what it is. For automations, I can, for example, say every time I have a contact which is created, I want to be able to send an email. So I will write my automation here. I will say on which condition I will do the automation. For example, every time I update it. And I will say, for example, after every update, I want to send an email, and I will define the email here. Okay. For the reports, we can change existing reports. For example, I need to have an application which has reports. Let's install quickly the sales application so that we can start from an existing report. Just click on install. That goes. In a few seconds, I'll have my sales application installed. It will be integrated to the CRM application, and I'll be able to see the PDF reports of the quotations that I can modify. Can I have the connection? Internet connection. internet issue here, I might want to switch to a landline connection, a wire connection. Okay, great. Excuse me for the little delay with the connection. I'll just make sure that we are now running properly. Doesn't seem to be working. Good. The connection is not working. Okay. Sorry for that. I'll just make sure. Okay, good. Now we are back online. Sorry for the little delay. If we go to the sales application, another thing that we can modify using the Odoo Studio will be to change reports. When you have a quotation, you have a PDF reports that you can modify, right? You can come to the reports here. Create a new entity. Sorry. Let's make sure here I go and activate the debug mode. And just create one customer. Okay, so I have a quotation here with the quotation number, the customer, and the content, the address of the customer. I can print it in PDF, but I can also edit and put it in, let's say, change the quotation, put it in bold. I can edit quotation dates into something else, salesperson into, for example, advisor. Okay. If I want to do more changes, I can always go to the XML version of the quotation and then do the editings, right? Next to this, we can also change the access rights of the documents. By access rights, you will simply say which person in your company or into your Odoo accounts will be able to access this business document, for example, an invoice, a sales order. And once they have access to it, which operation they can do. For example, a sales manager will be able to create quotations, delete them, modify them, and be able to read them, actually. But some users will not be able to create or delete business documents such as quotations, right? Finally, we can set some filters to be able to filter out only a subset of all of the data. For example, I can set a filter to say I want to see only quotations which are already confirmed. For the other ones, I don't want to see them. So here we have just seen a short overview of how you can go and modify an existing application. We'll have the time to go into a hands-on example in a few minutes. Another thing that you can do with Odoo Studio is to actually create an application right from scratch. If you activate the Studio mode and you go to the home page, you'll see an icon to create a new application. And from there, you will create something totally new, or you can create a shortcut to an existing Odoo application. Let's go, for example, and create a shortcut to the contacts page, but this time we'll rename it as instructors. Okay, click create. We'll link it to the contacts application, which actually is in our system. Contacts. And we click on create. Now, if I exit the studio mode, I can see that I have a new application here, just as the default Odoo applications. If I go to the new application, it will actually list all of the existing contacts. Okay. Now that we have seen that with Odoo Studio we can create new applications or modify existing ones, let's take a real case, a business case that will help us to work step by step. We'll take the example of a training company that provides trainings, let's say, into the domain of ERP. Okay. For that company, we need to maintain a list of all trainings that are possible to be subscribed for. We'll need to maintain a list of all students and a list of all sessions and instructors. Let's start with the instructors and the students. If we go back to the contacts, we have just added one tab in which we have added two Boolean fields, a student and an instructor. We want to modify this and add a few other information. For example, for the students, we want to be able to add their LinkedIn accounts. For example, I will just take one building block here of type text, and I will put it somewhere on the page that I want to modify. I have many types of fields that I can add. I can add Boolean fields, texts, or even relational fields. And once I do that, I can also rename them and say, okay, this is a LinkedIn field in which the type will be a URL, because I want to be able to add the link to my LinkedIn account, right? In the training page, I also want to add, let's say, a date for the instructor. And I will say that every time I record a new instructor, if I say this person is an instructor, I want to be able to also mention the joining date. I will say date joined. This will be a conditional field. It will be displayed only if I say the instructor is true. So in that case, I might want to add a condition and say, okay, display this field only if I have said that this person is actually an instructor. So let's test it right away. Let's create a new person, Frederic. I can give the street, the name, the mobile phone, the URL for the LinkedIn. And I can say, okay, he will be both a student and an instructor. As soon as I select instructor, I can see that the field date joined is being displayed conditionally. Okay. And then I'll say he joined, let's say, 2 days ago, and I save it. Now here we have just changed in a couple of seconds or minutes an existing application, which is the contacts. Now for our training management, we need to maintain a list of all the trainings, a list of all the students, a list of all the sessions of training. Since these objects do not exist in our Odoo applications, we are going to create new ones. So I will go back to the home page. I will activate the studio modes and I'll create a new application. The first one will simply be the list of trainings. Go back here, select one icon, for example this, and I will call it trainings. It is not linked to any existing module, so I will simply proceed. And here we have our training application which is created, and every object in Odoo needs to have a name at least. But for training, we also want to maintain, let's say, the description of what the training is about. So I will add a description field here. I will rename it by simply clicking on the name and saying, okay, this is the description. And that's it. Now let's also go on and add a list of students and instructors. I will click into the menu and then say, I want to create a new menu, which will be instructors. It is linked to something similar into our existing Odoo account, which is the contacts, and I add the instructors. I also want to add the students. I will click here, contacts, and I add them. One last thing to add will be the training sessions. I will simply click on sessions. I also add it. Create, and I confirm. So here we have a new application, which is the trainings. If I go to this application, I can see the list of all possible courses for trainings. I can see all the instructors. I can see the students and also the training sessions. Now you'll notice that between the two tabs, instructors and students, we basically see the same elements: students, Azustec, Agrolay, and others. What I want to be able to do is to filter out when I click on instructors and to keep only people which are marked as real instructors. First, I will go on and give a few contacts the instructor flag and say the joining date. And this is already done. Instructor joining dates. Save it. Now I will, again, thanks to Odoo Studio, I will activate a filter so that I filter out only the instructors. So I go into the studio, I'll go to the filter here, I will add one and say instructors only. So in a few clicks, I'm going to find the criteria on which I want to set a filter, which is the instructor is true. I will share it and put it as a default. And as of now, I only keep the 3 persons which are marked as instructors. But if I go to the students, I still see all of the contacts into my database. Okay. I missed one thing. I need to go and catch up on it. Yes. Instructors. Good. I need to restrict it only to one menu. Good. So the same, we go to the students. This time we apply a new filter. So this will be only students. We say it will apply to the menu students, which is basically this one. Say default filter is a student. We look for student. Is set as true. We save it. And we exit here. So now we have quite some good results and we can continue. Now we have some trainings, some instructor and students, and some sessions. Now we want to be able to create some links between all of these objects. An instructor will be able to deliver a training session for a given course to some students. So the first thing I want to be able to do is to create, let's say, the link between the training and the instructor. I will first take training number 1. I create one object here. And then I simply add a few fields. For example, I want to be able to add a link from this training to the instructor. So the relation will be contacts. If I go and see the options that I have, I'll be able to provide a description here and to list the contacts. Now, I don't want to set a contact as a student as a responsible of a training. I want to be able to select only actual instructors. So I need to restrict the candidates here by simply, again, putting a condition. So I will click here. First, I will rename it into responsible. And then I will put the domain, which is simply a restriction to say, okay, I will select only, only instructors for this one. Now, with this change, we only have 3 candidates. Okay. Now, the training course is linked to the responsible instructors, but the training can have many sessions. So if we go to the session, a session can be about one training or one course at a time. So here I will go and create a link between a session and its course. So I click simply like this. I'll say training. But the session has also a starting date and ending date. So I will go and select a field which is of date time. I will add a second one to say when it is ending. I can also say who is the responsible instructor here. Same way, I will go and add some filters. Okay, I'll first go here, rename this starting date. Ending date. Here we can link to the trainings, set the starting date, ending date, and here we need to restrict the actual instructors. So let me do this. Now, our application is almost ready. What we are going to do is a full flow, and then we'll try to catch up with the remaining customization or changes that we want to do thanks to Odoo Studio. So let's start by first creating a second training. It will be a training about ERP applications. I will take a description in English, and I'll say Frederick is the responsible of this class. Okay. Then I'll have a training session, which will be scheduled training session number 1. It will be for this class, starting here. Tomorrow, and ending again tomorrow at another time. Now here what we have just done is to schedule a training session, but we have been doing it manually. We could have improved this, for example, by having a really good view, like a calendar view to schedule the training, by also being able to go to the training and see how many sessions have been scheduled. To do that, I will first start by adding the link between the training and its session by simply going to the training. I click on the Smart button here, and I'll be able to say how many sessions have been already planned for this training. I can see the possible options I can select, which is the number of sessions, and I will confirm. As soon as I do this, you can see that we already have one session which is already planned, and from this same button we can even schedule new sessions. This is one thing we can already change. If we go back to the sessions, we can add a new type of view to allow for easy scheduling of the sessions. We need to always provide the starting date of a session as well as the ending date to allow for easy scheduling in a calendar view. As soon as I do this, I can come to the session in calendar view, and I will simply drag and drop the time on which I want to plan a new session. I can click on Edit, and I'll be able to fill in my new training. Okay. a small lag on the connectivity. Trying to reconnect. Is there something we can do with the connection?
You try to relaunch.
Yeah, let's try. Okay, I'm back online. Sorry for that. I'll take the same one here and choose Frederick again. So here we have two trainings, two sessions organized. If I go here, I can see the two sessions here. I can as well plan a new session by clicking here and then I create. Now, a training can have a responsible which can change during the year. If I change to camp, I will not have any track of when it was changed and who was the previous trainer. If I want to keep track of it, what I can do is to simply click on the link here, on the fields, and say I want to be able first to, sorry, I will come one step ahead, yeah, here, edits. I will ask Odoo to be able to do some tracking on the field change every time that I change the responsible of a training session. I save this, I go back to the document itself, and then I say now the trainer will be Frederick again, and I save it. You can see that Odoo will use the chatter to take note of the responsible change. I resume again. Okay. So by simply using Odoo Studio, we don't need to redevelop everything. Every application that we create will benefit from the standard Odoo features like the communication mechanism, which is the chatter, to keep history of everything that is happening. We can have access to all of the types of views. Here we only have list view. For the session, we have added a calendar view. We can add all the other types of view, like the Kanban view, for example, for the trainings. Okay. And whatever we do here is integrated with existing applications like the contacts applications. Okay. Now, we have seen how to modify an existing application, how to create a new one. Whatever you do here can also be exported into a zipped file so that you can use it to another application. You just activate the studio mode, you go to the home page. Under the customization button in the top left, you can export it in a zip file in one go. Okay. So this is pretty much an overview of the possibilities of Odoo Studio. I would like to come back to, let's say, the contacts form and show you what is happening under the hood, if I can say. We have just modified the contact form, and in the meantime, Odoo has created what we call some inherited view, so that we can save the changes and we don't lose them after after a migration, for example. Okay, just come back here. Make sure I see it, so I need to exit here. So I go to my form view, XML, and from here I should be able to see Odoo Studio, which is a new view that will help us to maintain all of the customization we have done so that we don't lose them if we have an upgrade or a migration, right? Now, just to sum up a bit of what you have seen, we have seen the creation of a new application, modification of existing ones, the possibilities of changes that we can do, a new view, some automations. Here we can, for example, set up some email notifications. The reports can be also accessible, and you can modify or create new reports. For example, a new external document with your company header or footer, or simply internal documents that don't have any header or footer, right? You can change the access rights here by simply checking or unchecking the different options you have, or you can create a new group of access rights, for example, for a new type or profile of Odoo users. Finally, you can set up some filters. We have just set 2 filters for the instructors and the students. Okay? Now we are coming to the end of the presentation. I will be taking some questions live if we have some we didn't have chance to answer in the live chat.
Yes, of course. So during your presentation, your great presentations, I was answering some of the questions. We have a lot of questions.
The video.
The video is there. So the first question I got from Alexandru Railenu was about the customization of the Gantt view. So can I customize a Gantt view through Odoo Studio?
Yes. Thanks, Alexander. That is possible. Let's say we go to the trainings here. The Gantt view is one that is useful when you want to do some plannings of resources or persons. Okay, we can go to the sessions, and from the session we can actually go to the views and activate the Gantt view. Again, the same as for the calendar. You need to specify the starting date as well as the ending date. So you need to create these fields in the first place. And then in a few clicks, you have a Gantt view for which you can plan what you want to do. On top of having a Gantt view, you can even change the defaults. And so, okay, what is the default duration? Is it the month, which is the default? Let's say I want to make it the week. Okay, here I don't have enough definition of my object, but I can change the units of duration of my Gantt view. It can be a month, a day, or a week. Right.
Okay, great. We had another question from Fernando Vina about the use of all those customization in other Odoo databases, but you answered the questions by with the ability to export and import all the customization through zip files.
That's right. So you can export all of your customization, but then when you want to import it into a target database, all you need to make sure is you have almost the same setting than your current database, especially if you did modification on existing application. You need to have those existing applications into the target database, and you should be fine.
Okay, and I will, of course, need Odoo Studio installed in both systems.
Exactly.
In order to ensure the upgrade of all those customization. Okay, another question I got from Axel Powers. Can you give a small example on how you create a drop-down in a form where the drop-down data comes from the database? For instance, using a one-to-many, many-to-one relationship, but you did that in during the demo. Maybe we can
yes, sure.
Quickly take a look at that kind of customization
Sure.
again.
For example, let's say if we go to a form view of the contacts, we can have some contacts in the training management, which are instructors. One of the drop-down idea that you can have to do is to select the selection building block and put it here and say, okay, every time I have an instructor, I need to say, for example, what is his diploma. Okay, you can simply add diploma, bachelor, master. Okay, confirm this, and you have a new field from which you can do the selections. For example, what is this? I'll call it diploma, and use this as a drop-down list.
Okay. Great. Another question about the use of Python logic through Odoo Studio. It's something we can do using Odoo Studio with the server actions, I guess.
Exactly. So Odoo Studio gives you access to also advanced customizations. We didn't go into more details because we don't want to make it too technical today. But what you can do is, for example, if I go to the trainings, I can go to, let's say, a training. I can have a field here which is counting the number of seats available, but also the number of remaining seats depending on how many attendees or students I have. You can compute automatically that remaining seats by simply adding some Python codes either on the field or simply by creating an automation here. When you create an automation, you can add your computation logic, for example, compute remaining seats. And you say this automation will actually have Python code. It will be updating every time I have an update, and then here you can write your plain Python code if you know how to code in Python. Yes.
Okay. Okay, great. And what about the use of community on extra modules? Is it something we can do in the cloud of Odoo?
Community.
With community, so we have. Let's imagine I implement Odoo and I would like to use more customized Python code. Is it something I can do with Odoo? Maybe not with Odoo Studio, but with Odoo.sh.
Yes, with Odoo Studio, you can do some impressive things, but then if you want to remodel your Odoo database, it is appropriate to create an actual module and put your logic in it. Now, on our clouds, we have Odoo Online, which is supposed to be used for little to no customization if you want. But then if you want heavy development or integrations, for example, you might want to host your solution on our new platform, which is odoo.sh. So the URL of it is simply odoo.sh. I invite you to go here and you will understand all of the technical aspects. But the idea is it is a robust platform which is meant for people who want to have to do really advanced customizations, and it is also scalable with the workload that you have.
Okay, thank you, because we had some questions about that. I take a look at the chatter. We got some questions not really related to Odoo Studio, so I will keep on answering after the session in the chatter. Okay, so what about the upgrades? Are all those changes ported to the new versions?
Thanks. That's also one of the major advantages of Odoo Studio. When you do customization with Odoo Studio, those customizations will be robust. They will survive a migration, right? So when your database gets migrated, we will also migrate all of the customization you have made. Now, it's true, it might happen that due to the new version of Odoo, we removed something. Let's say we remove an application or just a small field that is not used, but which you customized. You might want to adapt that, but normally it should also be totally fine to upgrade it, yes.
Okay, so thank you for this presentation, Patrick. I hope you all enjoyed this presentation. It will be the recording will be, of course, available in our YouTube channel.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you for attending. The recording will be available on YouTube. And in the meantime, if you want to ask any question, you can just click on my meeting link below the YouTube video, and you can book a personalized meeting with me so that we can go through your questions. And if you have a project, we can discuss your business needs and give you advice on that.
Thank you, Patrick. And of course, if you liked this presentation, feel free to share it through the social media, on Facebook, Twitter. You can also find us there in those channels. Thanks for watching, and see you soon for other presentation about Odoo. Bye bye.
Thank you.